Hello, Chaitra. Hello, Shivali. Hi, Ankita.
Hello, ma'am. Good
Hello,
evening.
ma'am.
How are you all doing?
Good, ma'am. How are
Yeah,
you?
good. How are you feeling? Almost coming to the end of the course.
Yes, ma'am. Tight schedule, by the way, doing the assignments and everything.
Yeah. You have this week, right? We have all of
Yes,
this week
ma'am.
to
Yes.
finally finish up. Yeah, you have this
Correct.
entire week, and yeah, next week we will do the final demos, lesson plans, demos. So I'll talk about that today. We'll discuss that today.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just
Good
waiting for
evening, ma'am.
everybody to come. Yeah, hi. Hello, Sonali. Hi, Chaitra.
Good
Good
evening, ma'am.
Gargi.
evening.
Gargi, yeah. I heard Gargi's voice. Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Just
ma'am.
waiting for everybody to come so we can discuss about the demos, the lesson plans that we are going to be having.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, Shivali. How are you doing?
I'm good, ma'am. What about you, ma'am?
Good. You look relaxed today.
Now,
No school?
How is
all
your
good in the family?
family emergency, ma'am?
Yeah, it's okay. My father-in-law actually had a very big dip in the pressure, blood pressure. So,
Okay.
we just had to rush him to the emergency room. Fortunately, he stabilized, but I left like around 4 o'clock. So that's when I put the message in the group. So he's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Nowadays, if somebody is little unwell, also, given what happens to even young people, you can't take a chance, no?
Right. We do get
Yes,
scared.
ma'am. What is
Yeah,
happens
it's too scary. Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah,
scary.
yeah.
This
Very young people.
Shefali, oh my God.
Yeah. I know. And now apparently it was low BP. Blood pressure went down. So obviously that means the heart stopped pumping. Now, obviously it was a cardiac arrest, which is obvious, but some things can happen in minutes to anybody. So yeah. So yeah, good evening, everybody. Today, what we will do is we will get, through this is a few more slides remaining on assessment. We'll talk about that, and then we'll spend a few minutes talking about the what is going to happen the next week. So probably today is Monday. Monday, Wednesday, we will have some class. Friday, you all will have the day off to or doubt clearing if at all any doubts you have. So I think between today and Wednesday, we will finish these slides. It's not much of the slides. Friday, we'll do doubt solving. Anybody wants to come, ask any question, talk about their lesson plan, right? And then the following week, would you prefer Monday, Wednesday, or do you want Wednesday, Friday for your demos if you all want little time?
Wednesday, Friday, ma'am.
Wednesday,
Yeah,
Friday. Okay.
Wednesday,
Okay.
Friday.
Yeah, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah.
We need
So what
some time.
Yeah, sure. So what you can do on Monday, you all can complete your lesson plans and share it with me. So that what happens is that once I have your lesson plans, if there's any feedback that I want to give you, if at all, I think it should be okay. I can tell you that. Even I have 1 day buffer. नहीं तो अगर आप what normally we were doing is like right now you're meeting me for the demo, like one on one. I will give Shivali a slot, Chaitra a slot, Sonali a slot, and then that time I'm saying, अच्छा ये नहीं डाला, वो नहीं करा. Then it's very scary for you also because it's just 15 minutes and I don't want you to be like getting nervous unnecessarily. Okay. So we'll do that. Uh, yeah,
Can
that's
you
all.
can you just explain what we have to done in that lesson plan?
Yeah. So, like, we have been so many lesson plans that are shared as exemplars, right? Pick up any lesson plan that you have made any time that you did, right? We've had so many opportunities. Any of the lesson plan that you're going to impart, share the lesson plan and have a PPT with that, like how you would do in school, right? Because, or if you say, "Ki, I don't want to use a PPT, I want to teach it like, hi, like you have a puppet, like, hello, everybody, good evening. Today is Monday evening. Today we're going to learn about the alphabet A and we have an ant who's come to our school. So come on and say hello to ant and all. So you can either teach me like I'm a student, and you don't have to teach every second. You can say, okay, now next. So after doing the introduction, then next I will ask them questions about prior learning. Like what do you know about, do you show them a magic bag, apple, ant, aeroplane, right? So you can explain to me what you will be doing in the lesson. Or if you have a PPT, you can take me through the PPT, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like we have to plan like an activity.
Yes, like a 30-minute lesson that you would otherwise, 35-minute lesson that you would have otherwise planned to impart.
Like in our class, we will deliver
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
We
Supposing,
deliver.
supposing you had to do a demo lesson for a school, you're applying for a
Okay.
job. So how you would
Yes,
do
ma'am.
it? Like you wouldn't teach if there are no teachers, they're just coordinator. You would say, okay, now I will do introduction, then I will do this, then I will next explain this, then I will give them an outdoor activity where they will go on a treasure hunt. And when they come back, they would have collected maybe, square shaped objects or triangle shaped objects. Then they will sort them out. So you will just explain the lesson to me, and then after that, I'll have a demo, and then that's the demo. And then Viva is I'll ask you like, so okay, what have you done so that the children are actively engaged? Or what did you do? Like, supposing you have a child with who's got attention deficit problem, what would you do for them if they are not listening to you at circle time? Just like general questions about it, or anything related to the lesson and generally. So it's just a short, mostly on the lesson, nothing off the script really. And that's about it. That's 15 minutes. So 10 minutes you will explain the lesson to me, and 5 minutes we'll have a discussion, right? And it's one on
Discussion.
one. So if Chaitra finishes, the next is Gargi's slot. I'll give a 5 minute break. So 5 to 5:15 Chaitra, then 5:20 to 5:35 Gargi, then 5:40 to 5:55 Shivali. Like that, we'll give time slots to everyone,
Okay, ma'am.
right?
You will give
And
the
then,
time slots, ma'am.
yeah, I'll give the time slots. And we have Wednesday and Friday, correct? Next Wednesday, not
Okay.
this coming, the following week, right? Wednesday, Friday, and then your next step will be the Skill India, right? तो उसका क्या होता है? Once in a month they have a Skill India slot. Like there's a thing. So before that you will have some sessions for Skill India, which is conducted not by me, by somebody else, Miss Upasna. She'll tell you what are the kind of questions that come, some samples, um, just a doubt clearing session. And then there will be a group created, WhatsApp group. So just like you are the January and March batch, there's November batch. There are many batches that still have to take Skill India exam. So they will all be part of the same group, and they will tell you that what's happening next there. Okay, so that's how it's going to be. And then of course in you for you to get, so what happens is, for you to get your certificate for NTT, you have to complete your all these modules with me. Then Skill India, you will get a second certificate. That's an MEPSC Skill India certificate. That's a separate certificate, right? And then those of you who have done you'll have done you'll have done Microsoft, or you did GCE tools. Have you all done
GC,
your
ma'am.
module?
GC.
Yes, that is a separate
Yes, ma'am.
certificate. So you get, yeah.
Nishita, ma'am.
So you get three certificates, right? One is from us
And
for and mark sheet.
and what
Nishita.
about the PG diploma students who are pursuing PG after that?
Yeah. So what happens is that once you're done with the NTT module, and you're waiting for, so the minute the next batch is formed for PG diploma, which will probably be mid-July. We were planning first week. In fact, Chaitra had asked me, and I told her that either first week or second week of or third week of July, we'll start the PG batch. So we'll keep you updated. Soon enough, within a week or so, you have like about a week, 10 days ka gap. Uske baad we start the PG group, the PG batch.
Ma'am, that
So
Skill
And
India
after
is
that, we get
compulsory.
only one certificate.
yeah, sorry, Shivali, then Gargi. Shivali, you can finish your question, then I'll ask Gargi.
Who did this entity course only, not go for the PG diploma. They get the certificate of entity after that.
Yes, correct,
And
correct.
who are going for the PG diploma, they will get the certificate after PG diploma.
No. आपकी इसकी अलग. This is considered to be diploma. You will get a certificate
Okay.
from us. You will
For
be
this
getting the
diploma.
Google certificate. Second certificate, you will be getting the MEPSC certificate. 3 certificates. Then your PG certificate is a separate certificate. That is after you complete those modules.
Sep-
That's a separate. That is a completely
Okay,
separate.
okay.
Ma'am, do we get
Yeah,
soft
sorry,
copy
Gargi had
or-
something. I'll just let her ask. Then you can
Okay.
ask. Thanks.
Ma'am, that Skill India I'm asking, that is compulsory.
Yeah, that is compulsory because that
Okay.
is part of this. And if you don't do that, then what happens is that you're not that equipped for the PG diploma. It's not that difficult.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, guys. Sonali, sorry, you were saying something. You can go next.
Yes, so the certificates we get, they are all soft copies or do we get hard copies? Or we have to
You know,
give
you
them
get
printed?
for the Google, you get soft copy, but for the others, you will get a hard copy.
So that gets mailed to us?
Yes, it is mailed to you.
Okay. And also when you said that the Skill India,
Hmm.
if we clear the Skill India, only then we go for the PG diploma?
Yeah, so what happens is that sometimes we can start the PG diploma already, and Skill India at some point you can clear it because uska exam hota na, we have to also look at availability of the Skill India team. We don't conduct the exam, we just facilitate it. Like we will create a group, we will have the clarification classes, we'll do that. So that is something that is recommended to be doing, and we want you to have that before you go to PG diploma. Not before you go, but as part of the journey.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Any other questions? Feel free to ask because now it's not rushed. We have these today and Wednesday for the classes. Friday is going to be doubt solving. I mean, any doubts, anything you want to ask about lesson plan, about your assignments, about
मैम
anything. Yes, yes, Amandeep.
मैम फोनिक्स का जो एक हमें वीडियो बनाना था वो
हाँ.
पीजी में होगा या अभी हमें करना है? आपने शायद लास्ट टाइम बोला था कि वो पीजी में जाएगा, मतलब पीजी के टाइम पे हमें करना होगा।
फोनिक्स का जो आपको बनाना था नहीं, उसका आपको वीडियो नहीं बनाना. You can just put a PPT.
ओके।
Which one are we talking about specifically? Can I just show you the LMS and we can clarify that?
यस मैम।
No, ma'am, that's the demo video we have to make. Numeracy and literacy.
Yes, yes, yes. नहीं, हाँ,
Both
यस
that's
मैम।
combined video.
yes, yes. That we have to do.
That's
That
the
we have.
video.
Yeah, yes.
We don't
That's
have
what we have.
demo in this. We don't have demo in
Yeah.
this. We have demo on in the PG diploma.
Yes, yes, yes. Exactly, exactly for phonics, right? So that's what is the thing. You have to make it. So you have some time now. I know I've given last dates, but
वी
last
जस्ट
dates
हैव टू मेक अ पीपीटी फॉर लिटरेसी एंड न्यूमरेसी।
yeah. So you have to make it and you have to like speak over it. So it's like a video, like small video
ओके
that we have
ओके
created, right? But you don't have to like front face the camera if you don't want to do that. You can play the PPT and have your voice over on that
ओके
and record it. You can do that, right?
ओके
Because we
मैम।
also want to see what happens, Amandeep, is that in schools you also work. Sometimes, you have to send these recorded videos to children or so that's why we want you to be comfortable using technology.
ओके ओके मैम, थैंक यू।
Yeah. All right. Okay. Any other questions? Then we can continue on.
Ma'am,
Yeah, go ahead.
for the third Viva, we can take the topic from that 10 activities, play-based activity we done in our assignment.
Absolutely. Don't go start looking for new lesson plans. You've created so many already. Okay, so
Yes.
it'll be easy. Then you just have to make a concurrent PPT if you want, or just want to do it as a live with your teacher aids and your posters, then you can do it whichever way you want. Okay, yeah. All right. So we have a small section now on assessment.
Sorry, ma'am.
Okay. Yes,
Just one
Sonali.
clarity I need. The demo
No
video that we are talking about, it is a demo video on
It's
foundation
yeah,
literacy, numeracy, and creative expression. So it's a video
yeah,
with, or does it has to be a PPT? Like the way we have seen one video you showed us,
yes,
where the
yeah.
teacher included everything, the shapes and some
Hmm.
math things. So that is how we have to make it, right?
No, so make it whichever way you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable front facing the camera and saying ah, 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 B is b, 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 then you can put a PPT and you just speak over it.
Okay.
Yeah, whichever way you're comfortable, whichever way you feel confident to do it, right? Because if you are going to do A, B, C, D, then you'll have to put on the camera and one by one do it quickly, right? Because you'll be using your resources or maybe some flashcards or whatever.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's up to you how you want to do it.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Ma'am, so for the final demo, we have to use the teaching aids as well, like flashcards and all of those things, like any
Yeah,
puppets or flashcards.
yeah. So if you're using PPT, then you don't need to do that, right? If you're going to use a
Okay.
PPT. But if you're teaching, like if you're doing it as that, like you're teaching a topic, let's say triangles, some
Okay.
teaching aids you should showcase, right? Otherwise, In actually also when you have a lesson with children, you cannot not show them anything. You will show them some
Yeah.
live objects. You will tell them, okay, I have, so keep a few teaching aids ready. Just think of it as a
Okay.
demo that you would go for a job in a school.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
But then, ma'am, in PPT, we don't need to show anything, right? We just
Ah,
will run the
yeah,
PPT and it will be
yeah,
done.
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
But if
Thank
it
you.
is not PPT, then we have to
Yeah.
showcase these materials and all of those
Yes.
things.
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah.
also have to take you through the document or whatever we have prepared, right?
Yeah, that's why we want you to share that on Monday, right? So if
Okay.
you share it to me in advance, then if there is any feedback I want to give you or anything, I can tell you in advance, no? Others that
Yeah.
time it's better you know. And see, the reason why we are giving you the option of doing, because many times we have to do an online class, all of us have to do it. Many
Correct.
times, most of the time, we are teaching live. So if
Mm-hmm.
you have, like, say, if you're interviewing for a job, let's say in Dubai, for instance, right? So they
Okay.
will not ask you to come in person. They will say, can you just do a presentation for us, a demo video
Okay.
presentation for a
Yeah.
particular topic, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, that is being used increasingly a lot. Like, so it's good to be, some of you do this, some of you do that, whatever you're comfortable, whatever works better for you.
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. All right. Okay. So about assessment. So obviously with children, it has to be a very involving and a play-based effort. And I think this also applies for even adults, right? People tell you so many things, we forget it. Teaching, okay, fine, good. That time you enjoy the lesson. But if you are participative in the lesson, then or experiential, then you definitely learn that, right? So, okay, when you hear the word assessment, what is the first word that comes to your mind? Like, what do you think about the minute I say, today we're going to have an assessment?
मतलब means the person in front of us are going to assess us on the basis of our performance, on the basis of her teaching, but she has or he has taught to us.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, like, they're checking if you know something. In a way, they are
Our
doing check.
knowledge, yes.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
How much we have learned.
How much? Okay. What else comes to your mind when you say assessment?
Exam, ma'am.
Yeah, usually it's something scary, like an exam. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's true. Yeah. So basically, all of us think of something like, either that she's checking my knowledge or they think like maybe it's an exam. So yeah, it's that very moment of finality, like finally, मेरे को क्या आता है नहीं आता है, right? It's something about that. Okay. But actually, what is assessment? Okay. Assessment is many things. It's not just finally, a final test of it, right? So it's all the methods that are used to get the intended outcomes of instruction, right? So you are going to plan your assessment depending on what you are teaching, what do you want your students to learn, right? It's also all the measures employed by the teacher to answer, like you have to find out कि मैंने सिखाया पर उन्होंने सीखा है कि नहीं. The students learn what they were supposed. So actually, assessment is also check of the teacher's teaching style. We always think it's children have they learned? But if your class does badly, it's me who's not taught well. If you don't do well,
Yes.
it means I wasn't a good teacher. That's my problem, right? Yeah. Also,
Yes.
assessment is, yeah, absolutely. Assessment is not only about knowledge only, it's also about so many things like cognitive skills, creativity, ability to work, collaboration, oral communication. It's about checking multiple skills, right? And actually, a good assessment is not only about the finished product, जो आपने end में exam, it's about everything you do, including being engaged or disengaged, answering or not answering, being participative, not, it's everything. All that comes. So, as a teacher, that's why do you think a robot should not teach children? वो भी देख लेगा उसने टेस्ट ठीक से करी है कि नहीं. But are we only looking at what the child did in the worksheet, or you're seeing everything else? Right? We are looking at assessment in a very comprehensive, and especially for early years teachers, we are saying, is he happy to come to school? Does he like to do his work? Does he like to interact? Is he having fun? What does he enjoy the most? So we are making all those assessments.
For the emotions.
Yes. Yeah. What was the emotions when he was learning? Was he looking like scared? Was he having a lot of fun? Was he like super engaged? Like if you give children water and bubbles, what is the reaction? Bubbles and water.
They seems very happy.
Very happy.
super
तो आपको
excited.
assess ओवर एक्साइटेड सो उसमें आपको कोई असेसमेंट करने की जरूरत है कि वो कुछ सीखे कि नहीं सीखे यू नो कोई सीखे because they played with water, right? So assessment is actually a fun thing to do. It's very complicated, very scary, very end of the thing, right? So for you have to always look at assessment in a very engagement, fun, energy, collaboration, excitement, uh, like just want to do it. Like that's what it is. So just we should always think like the way my kids love bubbles and water, why don't they like everything else? Because maybe you have to think about it. Think about how you should plan your teaching because that's how it goes. Okay. Yeah. So basically, Jane, there's a person called Mary Jane Drummond. Okay, she says assessment should have 4 characteristics. Okay, it should be embedded in everyday practice. ये नहीं कि आपको end में करना है मैं FA1, FA2, SA1 कर रही हूँ. It's every day, everything, right? It's a lot to do with observation. Are they happy? Are they excited? Are they having fun? Oh, I know they love bubbles, like 100%. I can guarantee, right? And but at the same time, it also should have an interpretation. That means, like a lot of you said, they are overexcited. A lot of you said they are having fun. So interpretation was if they are overexcited, means they are having fun, right? But at the same time, if while they're doing bubbles and water, even if you're teaching them like sink and float, you have to say that were they able to understand the concept of show me something that sinks, show me something that floats, right? So that's also that it should not be just wild, okay, having fun. You should have a reason to do it or how to make out that the child has learned or not learned. Okay. And very important, it also teaches, tells you about your style of teaching. That what is a better way for you to teach? Is there a better way to learn? So that's why nowadays we don't call it teaching, we call it teaching learning. If you do the Cambridge diploma, it's Cambridge diploma in teaching and learning, right? Because if you teach the dog to whistle and he doesn't, well, is it the dog's fault or your fault? The wrong thing taught to the wrong person, correct? Nobody's fault. Just but you cannot claim कि मैंने वो कुत्ते को whistle करना सिखाया. You cannot say that. Okay. So that's the thing about assessment is that we have to think of it in a more comprehensive manner rather than we all think like even I thought assessment means testing, FASA, it means knowledge check, it means but it's so many things that is there. Okay, but there are some words we use in the academic way, right? It's called formative and summative, and all of us have heard these words, so I don't need to like tell you that, right? But formative assessment is assessment of learning, right? Or assessment for learning. For that means while you are learning to see how much have you learned during the learning process. Okay, so I'm just going to pick my pen up and just going to make it up. Yeah, right. So what have you learned during what is happening during the learning process, right? Now, supposing you have given some children something to do and they are not having fun or they're not understanding, will you change the activity? You might need to do it, right? You feel like maybe they are too young, they're not understanding this activity, or you show them a video and they all within 30 seconds run away. What does that tell you? They're not interested. You may need to put Coco Melon or put something Dora the Explorer, right? So also formative allows you or teachers to pivot, means change your path. Okay. And also informative, you know that, okay, मैंने ये plan तो बना दिया, but ये तो चल ही नहीं रहा है. Now I've got to improve the plan. So it's like as a teacher, even when you make a lesson plan, everything in the lesson plan you try to do, but sometimes you have to make small changes, improvements. That's areas of improvement, right? And also it gives opportunity for students to implement feedback. So supposing you have teaching them number 5 and you did 10 activities and you think like, okay, now I did 10 experiential activities. Now when I give them a worksheet, they should be able to do it, right? And that is your final exam. And everybody fails in that. So you should have given them after the first worksheet or third worksheet or fourth worksheet. Why you gave them in the end? Then there is no time to implement feedback, right? So formative, that's why formative is called assessment for learning. It's for learning, not of learning, right? But when you do assessment of learning, that tends to be called summative, right? Because it's at the end of the learning process. You did 10 activities and you did not give them any checking. You just kept making them ek ke baad, ek ke baad, ek. Then in the end, you're like, oh my God, inko to aaya nahi, they didn't understand. Now, should you go back and do each activity again? I guess you'll have to do it. What can you do? Right? And summative. So summative is very much at the end. And that's why nowadays we have FA1, FA2, FA3, whatever schools plan it out. Okay. And basically, summative in a way is also important. It's not bad, but it's a final evaluation of knowledge and skills. And for very young children, they need at least, so if you give a child a new thing to eat, like kuch bhi, anything, do you know how many times it takes before they like something, a new thing? What could be the number? What's the guess? What would be your guess? Like, how many times should you give the child the same food for him to start kind of agreeing to eat it? Forget like it. वो तो बहुत दूर की बात है. Just agreeing to eat it.
3-4 times.
Yeah. No, more than that. Between 5 to 10 times. Right? So that's how they will even be in the mood to even look at that thing. Like if children, like some kids don't like, like tomatoes, that sticky thing, right? But you give them pizza, they will fatafat, they will eat it, or pasta. But tomato nahi khana, right? So that's something that it's something in their mindset that maybe that thing got stuck in their palate or tongue or something happened, right? So that's what I'm saying. Even when you do a final assessment check, we have to give them at least and they're young, so 4-5 experiences with it for you to actually do the final check. Usually we teach a topic and we make them do one small activity. Acha, acha, chalo, let's finish the worksheet. Because I guess we have so much content to teach that we are, unfortunately, we do. I also did the same. I'm not telling that you do it. I also did the same, right? So summative is also for high stakes, right? That means rank the child. Is he first? Is he second? Right? We all did our board exams, final exams, unit test. Okay. And usually in summative, there is a grade or something that tells exactly where you. Okay, so that's formative and summative. For those of you, this may be a new word or you may have heard it, but remember assessment for learning, assessment of learning. Now, can you tell me what would you think that assessment as learning would be? What would that mean to you? If I say assessment as learning, what would that mean to you? Can somebody guess what is assessment as learning? Okay, why don't you all Google it? Just Google it. Assessment as learning. Even I'll Google it. Let's see what answer we get. All of us get.
Assessment as learning, as per Google, is a process where students are actively involved in assessing their own learning. It
Hmm.
emphasizes the role of the student in monitoring their progress, reflecting on their understanding, and
Hmm.
making adjustments to their learning strategies.
Yeah. Yes. Right. So that means who has a role in that the student,
The
right? Yeah.
students, yeah.
Yeah. So assessment for and assessment of is a teacher's job. हमें प्लान करना है हमें डालना है ये प्लान करना है but assessment as learning is usually when you are giving a lot of empowerment to the student letting them decide that Asha, no, I'm just not understanding this. I think I need to watch this video 2 times. Like you all are not understanding, getting confused about how to make the literacy and numeracy video, or you're getting confused about lesson plan, like how am I supposed to do? But now you will go back, look at your lesson plan out what PP to make, right? So you are self-directed. I'm not sitting and making your PPTs or your teaching aids, right? So yeah, there are 3 things now: assessment for learning, as learning students, and of learning, right? So that's how assessment is actually quite complex. We think it's only 1 or 2 things, right? That's what it is. Okay. Yeah. So formative is called formative is assessment for learning is formative, and it takes place during the lesson. You do it during the lesson. And what happens is, because you're doing so many checks in between, you have to create a very different types of, you have to make students active participants, right, in the learning. And when they become, like, they understand what you do every time, and then they understand it, like, then they become assessment as learning. We're not going there. I just wanted you to know that new concept. Okay. And this will tell you at which point the children are not understanding something, so that you can correct it. Otherwise, आपने 10 एक्टिविटी करा दी, फिर एंड में वर्कशीट दी, किसी को कुछ नहीं समझ में आया. And then you don't know, you were like, oh my God, I should have given them the worksheet after the third activity or fourth activity. Okay. So you know what improvements you have to make in the plan. Okay. And also what happens, students also know that, oh, ma'am to matlab har baar kuch check karegi, will find out. So they also know, okay, I must remember this concept or try to do it or practice it. Like, you just have to do it, right? Like, if you learn cooking, like all of us have learned cooking. So first time the cake came out horrible, second time better, third time, and slowly you knew what was it that you did wrong. जब केक फ्लैट हो जाता है तो आपने क्या किया होगा, आपको खुद ही पता होता है कि मैंने शायद बेकिंग सोडा नहीं डाला है, या बेकिंग पाउडर must have been very old, my baking powder, so that's why my cake did not rise, right? So we, after a point, when we know, when we've done something many times, we know where something could have gone wrong. Okay. So also this gives the students that ownership कि मुझे पता है कि मैं कहाँ पे हूँ और मुझे क्या करना है, and what could I have possibly done wrong, right? Don't you all think when you made a wrong dish, what did you do wrong? What was that step that you did not do correctly? We all know it. We all know in our mind, and we think about it. Okay, that's formative assessment for learning. Okay, yeah. So let's look at this little thing. Yeah. So it's like you tell a dog, bad dog. So he says, I'm going to need more feedback on my formative assessment. How do you know I'm bad? What all did I do that I'm bad, right? So that's just like a funny, little cartoon strip on that. Okay. Then let's look at assessment summative, which is assessment of learning. It's called summative assessment. It takes place after the learning, in the end. And obviously it's about achievement. Who's the best, who's first, who's second, who's third. Okay. And mostly what happens is we use it in a way like term 1, term 2, term 3 to feedback to parents, right? Based on what performance we saw. Okay. Yeah. And again, this is that favorite joke that everybody likes to use about, I said I taught him, I didn't say he learned it, right? So that's the summative. And often we are saying that to parents. हमने तो सब सिखाया था क्लास में, पता नहीं उसने नहीं सीखा. I don't know what about it, right? So it tends to happen, especially with older kids. And we've heard that. I've gone to all my parents, my children's PTMs, and heard the teacher saying, I taught it 5 times, but I don't know why he's not learned. He's not focusing. That's not my problem, right? So that's the end of summative. Yeah. And then, yeah. So let's look at the types of assessment there is. I know that we think it's limited, but actually there are many types of assessment. There is diagnostic, what a student needs to learn. Like, for instance, if you have a cough or a cold and you go to the doctor, does he straight away give you like a medicine, or he'll ask you some questions? Obviously, ask you questions. That's diagnostic. Okay. If any of you work in a school and you have a new child who comes in class 5, for instance, तो उसको एक entrance exam देते हैं ना, check करने के लिए कि is he at grade 5 level. Great. So that is a diagnostic assessment. Okay. Then there is pre-assessment to check if the child has prior knowledge. So let's say if we are all learning about lesson plans. So I will give you all a prior assessment that what is the sequence of lesson plans, Gagney's lesson plan. Do you know what? So I just want to know whether you remember it. Then I will say, okay, now make a lesson plan based on Gagney's plan. Okay. Formative is ongoing, continuous assessment, as we talked about. Then there's also something called as self-assessment, which is assessment as learning. When students know what their own progress is, like if you had to make a cake and the cake gets spoiled. So आप सोचोगे ना कि मैंने क्या गलत किया? Was the temperature not correct? Did I put less baking powder? Was the baking powder old? Was it too watery? Did I put too much milk? You think about it. Okay. And summative is, of course, end, which is specific, targeted. And then there is self-assessment, a peer also. We've already done self. So that means when you give feedback to each other, like you go into your breakout rooms or you tell each other, that is called that peer assessment. Okay. So that's why nowadays schools are using, especially for little older kids, using self-assessment, peer assessment. These are all assessment as learning. You're telling each other कि तुमने ये गलत किया है, this is not correct. Before you show it to ma'am, check your, like when we were in school and they used to give us dictation. Do you remember checking your partner's tick list? And then you would submit your worksheet or book to the teacher, right? So that is peer feedback, peer assessment. Okay, yeah. Oops, sorry, this has gone so far ahead here. Okay, so now let's understand these specifically, because these sound like very, very easy words. But if somebody tells you to actually, let me just get rid of this pen. Yeah, somebody actually asks you what is formative assessment, we are not able to sometimes answer or even know what are the things we should do for formative assessment. Okay, so there are some good concept videos which we must watch, and we will watch that to understand this.
It's 9:15. How am I already underwater?
I'm in the same boat.
I'm in an actual boat.
I thought Grammarly just fixed grammar. They make boats now?
It's more of a metaphorical boat, because I've been using Grammarly's AI for years to keep me high and dry. Try it. Grammarly can look through your writing to make it easier to understand. See? Short.
Oh.
Formative assessments. Why should you use formative assessments in your practice? As a teacher, it is your responsibility to find out if your students do not understand what is being taught. Students are going to have misconceptions. Students will become lost at times. Poor teachers continue to teach whether or not their students understand. However, teachers need to know if their students don't understand what's being taught. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with a class full of confused students that haven't learned anything. So master teachers use formative assessments to make decisions to reteach or move forward. So use formative assessments to change a teaching method, to assign extra homework, or even move forward onto the next topic. When should you use formative assessments? Well, it should be used continuously throughout the lesson. It should be integrated with your instruction to the point where you teach, and then assess, teach and assess, teach, assess, etc., and so forth. So make it comfortable for your students to respond to questions. Formative assessment should take place firmly during the teaching process. Here are some examples. First up, hand signal 1 to 5. 1 to 5 is a whole class assessment. So a teacher may be working a problem on the board, let's say. At some point, that teacher will want to stop. Then they will formatively assess their students by having them rate their understanding on a scale from 1 to 5, using their fingers. 1 finger is the lowest level of understanding. Students will put up 1 finger if they are absolutely lost. 2 fingers indicate the student has a vague understanding. 3 fingers indicate the student is in the middle. 4 fingers means the student has a good understanding. And 5 fingers is the highest level of understanding. 5 fingers means the student has mastery. Ultimately, 1 to 5 is the quickest way to assess a large group of students. Number 2, brainstorming. Brainstorming usually takes place before introducing a new topic. Teachers use brainstorming to get an idea of what their students already know about a topic. Ask some examples of predator-prey relationships. Then list the examples on the board. The good part is students will also learn examples of predator and prey as you brainstorm. Brainstorming is a great assessment for gauging a class's prior knowledge on a topic. Third, exit tickets. Used mainly at the end of a lesson, hence the word exit. The teacher will ask an essential question. A question that revolves around a big concept of the lesson. Formative assessments are always meant to be quick. Give students about 2 or 3 minutes only. Students are given a small slip of paper. The question is answered on the slip of paper. You can use exit tickets to track implementation of standards throughout the course. Exit tickets are best used for assessing a lesson's overall objective or goal. Fourth, think, pair, share. A 3-part assessment. Step 1 is think. The first thing you do is assign your class a question to think about and work on. Be sure to give students appropriate wait time for the question.
Just stopping that. Just give me a moment. Right. So this is just some strategies that they were sharing, what you could be using. So one was, of course, using fingers, right, to understand how much you've understood the concept, right? That was one of them that they mentioned you can be doing with children. Even exit ticket, asking them what they have understood, like thumbs up, thumbs down. For young children, smileys. Did you like the lesson? Did you find it interesting? You can plan it out. You can also do any think, pair, share, or two people sharing what they have understood about the topic. All that come under formative, right? So the point is, आपने कुछ एक concept सिखाया, then you are asking, checking. Then you're taught the second concept, then you're asking. So you're not going tuck, 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 and then asking in the end. So formative is one small concept, micro teaching. Small concept, check. Check for understanding. Small concept, check. Small concept, check. So that's what formative means in the true sense of the word, right? You're checking and checking and checking, right? And you're not assuming you will do everything in the end. That's what formative is. Yeah. Okay. And then there is something called as summative, which is, of course, assessment of learning over the longer period, right? And then there's something called as diagnostic. So I want you to see diagnostic because summative, we know it's all tests and exams. So there's nothing as such. But diagnostic is a good tool for us to understand because we can use it in our classroom as well. We just get that going.
With Google Workspace, apps like Docs, Drive, Gmail, and Meet are connected and in one place, so your whole team can make updates.
Hello and welcome to Teachings in Education, Diagnostic Assessments. So, why should you use diagnostic assessments in your classroom? Well, in any given classroom, not every student is going to be at the same level. Now, let's say it's your first day of school, and you're getting a large group of 6th graders. Don't assume your students have the prerequisite skills necessary for your class. I mean, they could have slept through the entire 5th grade. This is where diagnostics come into play. Diagnostics help identify the student gaps that you're going to have to deal with to help guide your future instruction. Now, how do you incorporate diagnostic assessments into the classroom? Well, diagnostics should not be given too often. But when given, it should be starting a new unit or starting a new course. A diagnostic test isn't something you want to hold against a student either. They're not meant to be graded. Rather, just for the teacher's use, just for the teacher's reference. Now, at times, students may not give a full effort due to the fact that there is no grading. But you want to try to get accurate results the best you can. Here are some examples of diagnostic assessments. First up, textbook pre-course tests.
Right. So I think you all got the idea of what a diagnostic is. It's like trying to find out if somebody knows something or not. Especially if you're teaching kindergarten 1, kindergarten 2, and some child comes in the middle of the session and you're already, reached quite ahead in phonics or mathematics or any concept. So you also want to know like up to what level do they know? Then you can also, plan if there's any support required or give some resources to the parents and all of that, right? So these are all important things when we talk about assessment, because assessment is, like I said, it's a pretty complex thing, right? Yeah. So obviously, what are the different functions of assessment? Three main assessments. Diagnostic tells us what the student needs to learn or knows, what is the level. Formative tells us how well the student is doing as we keep teaching, as the work progresses, right? And summative tells us how well the student did at the end. Okay, so this is like you can say before, during, and after. So very simple: diagnostic, formative, and summative. That's really what it is. Okay, and what are the benefits of assessment? Because when you actually measure a student's potential, and then you can transform the learning, right? Then you can decide what this individual learner needs, education needs, and where to focus your teaching efforts, right? Yeah. So very important thing about assessment is it is an ongoing process. It is definitely the knowledge that you want your students to know, right? But it's also the process, how to go about for doing that for your students, right? And assessment is also what skills, what just students can do when they know this, right? Like if I teach them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what do I want my students to do? I want them to be able to, if I give them a set of objects, a bunch, they should be able to tell me how. That's a skill. I want them to develop numeracy skills. I'm not just teaching, right? And if the child takes full day to say 5, like to give me 5 objects, that means the performance, he has not done it well. But if he quickly, in 2 minutes, in 1 minute, he goes, picks up 5 objects and says, ma'am, this is 5, 1, then I know he did it well. Okay. But also important about assessment is how motivated are they happy? How do they feel? So we also have to, that means assessment is at so many levels: knowledge level, process level, skill level, performance level, motivation level, right? It's all the things. Okay, yeah. So other than knowledge, normally we think, okay, we checked, he knows 1 to 5, done, right? But we also can assess other things. So soft skills, what we call, right? We can assess students' learning characteristics, like what is their learning style? Is he more visual? Is he more auditory, right? We can also assess, okay, I'm teaching reading to everybody, but these two students are really at a different level. They can really read well, right? Um, learning styles is VARK, like visual auditory. Learning characteristic is like, is he an enthusiastic learner? Is he, very engaged with particular type of activities, right? Then we can also assess that what motivates students, right? Like for me, if I watch little concept videos during my lesson, I feel like alert, awake, and some engagement. Some people may just like to listen, what motivates. Some of them may say, I like to do an activity hands-on, then I will feel motivated, right? We also get to know what are their interests when we interact with students. We can assess that, okay? And we also know what knowledge they have gained. So it's not just topical knowledge, but overall, what have they understood about the concept? Okay, yeah. So now when we are planning assessment, what is the steps to take, sequence. Okay. It's not making a test paper. Okay. That means we have to plan our instructions. What should we do so that the children can show those outcomes? That is, you have to plan कि मुझे क्या बोलना चाहिए, मुझे क्या करना चाहिए, right? Then you have to plan what tasks you will lay out so that you can check that assessment. Like if I want to check if children can make a Ganesha, I have to say, okay, I must first show them some like maybe a small video. I will show them, how to assemble the parts. My instruction will be like, it will be a demo type of instruction. Okay. Like we teach children how to make this snowman in winters, right? So we tell them, no, first put the big circle at the bottom, then put the middle for the stomach, then put whatever, right? And so we have to plan that. We also have to give them those clay balls or tell them to make one big one medium one small one for the head, then put sticks, right? And then we will have to have some kind of a procedure that am I seeing wo stepwise kar raha hai ya usne size correct kiya? What is your procedure? What is your, what assess? Are you making a tick list? Are you observing it? Does a child have to make it according to, like, if you give him a template and he has to make the balls according to the template size? Is that your assessment? So it's from instruction to learning tasks to the specifics of the assessment. Okay. Yeah. So once we do assessment or we plan an assessment, right? What do we do with it? We can use it to improve the focus of our teaching. So if I know that, like say after you all, the next cohort of NTT students, nobody is a teacher. Like this one, we had Sonali, Shivali, Gargi. Many of you are practicing teachers, right? So I know, okay, now they are all like completely for the first time they have come to a class. So how should I now teach? I will have to be very, very basic to begin with, right? Yeah. Then also what we do with the assessment is like, I knew from this cohort that a lot of you are practicing. So what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What is it that you want to develop, right? And then we already had a curriculum, of course, but then I know, okay, I can add one more video. I can do this. I can plan a task, right? That's use it. And also with assessment, normally with assessment, there is a deliverable. So either we inform the parents or in an adult learners, you have a mark sheet, right? You will get certificate, all of those things. Okay. So assessment, yeah. All right. So why should we design authentic assessment? Obviously, very obviously, so that we know the strengths, the weaknesses, we know what to do, we know how to inform. There's so many reasons for that, right? Now, how do we develop an authentic assessment? Okay. So first and foremost, as a teacher, you have to identify what is your aim, what is your objective, what are the learning objectives. That's the first thing you should do. Okay. So if you say you're going to teach your students to identify number 5 and count 5 up to 5, right? So your objective can be identify the image 5 or the numeral 5 and write it correctly, like using the correct formation. That can be your objective. Or your objective can be identify it, write it, and do a one-on-one correspondence. It can be 3 things, or it can be those 3 things, and can it be that also count like one more and one less. So it can be and learning objectives, like I said, have to be specific. Okay, that's important. Okay, then you say, okay, I want the child to recognize the number 5, like just visual, right? So what are the tasks I'm going to do? Of course, I'll put it on the board. I'll put those flashcards for a treasure hunt. They have to bring the right one and come. So what are the tasks I will do? You have to define the relevant task. Okay, yeah. And then also you have to identify, how do you know कि उसको पता है कि नहीं पता है? Right? If you just keep one flashcard in the class, say this is number 5, and you say, oh, they have understood. How do you know? You have to have a performance criteria. Mix it up. Put 5, 4, 3, 2. See if he can pick up the correct one. That will be your criteria. That he's not 1 time, not 2 times, 3 times, 5 times he has identified 5 correctly. So he knows what 5 looks like. Okay. Yeah. Also, what really helps is to develop some tool. Have a checklist, have an observation, have something, a rubric to see whether they're able to do it. Developing a rubric but rubric is good when you have a little complex task, not something so simple. Usually for us, most of the early years, checklist is good enough, usually, right? Or observation is also good enough. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So when we talk about assessment literate students, right? It is a word that we don't normally tell children ki aapko kaun sa, what are we going to do, right? We don't usually show them something in advance. We just tell them do it and then we'll check it, right? But when we talk about assessment literate, it means before the, like when we give you a worksheet or when I give you a task, you have a rubric at the end to know कि आपने क्या क्या चीजें करनी है, you know it ना. So you are aware that I will get 20 out of 20 if I do tuck 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 tuck, if I get this. And you also know that if you submit, let's say, very late or there's a cutoff, then 1 mark will be cut or 2 marks, right? So assessment literate means when the students, before you start the task, you tell them what is the rubric, what is the relevance of the content, right? They will be more engaged, they will be more motivated because everybody wants to do well, everybody wants to get full marks, everybody wants to be the best, right? So that's called assessment literate students. Okay. So there are some tools and techniques that we can use for classroom assessment. Okay. So when we talk about assessment, right, there are ways that we do it. So those are called tools, right? And the methods of organizing. So these are called techniques and tools. So let's look at some of them. Okay. So tools are, we don't have a stethoscope, we don't have a hammer, we don't have, any of that, right? We have checklists, we have rubrics, we have anecdotal notes, we make notes about the students, we have photographs, we have videos, we make audio recordings, we have worksheets, we have portfolios, right? Those are tools, those are all called tools. Okay. And technique is something you do, like you observe the children, you have a technique of keeping anecdotal is like a journal, like at the end of it you will just make a quick note of that. Okay. So that's called those are tools and these are techniques. Yeah. Okay, so what is technique number one? Observation. So most of us, we use it's the most common thing. Okay, it's actually watching the external behavior and it's very systematic. It can be very systematic, it can be very planned out, right? Yeah. So what are the important steps in a good observation, right? First of all, you should plan what are the details that you're going to collect through observation. Okay. Then what are you going to observe? What are the observable behaviors? Okay, you should decide. Like if today you're making the children do play, like they're playing outside in the playground. Okay, so today you have decided that today I'm going to be observing the children's how they are sharing with each other or how they're collaborating with each other. Okay, and then you will make a observation based on that, right? So you have to be very clear about what you're going to be observing, and you have to, like, we are having the lesson plan and demo. So I'm telling you that observe, your sequence of lesson, your PPT/teaching aids. I'm going to observe how you're planning active learning and play-based learning for the children. I'm telling you what I'm going to observe for you. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so there are many types of observation. I know we think just going and seeing children, but there is participant observation, non-participant observation, direct observation, indirect observation, scheduled observation, unscheduled observation, structured observation, unstructured, incidental, and just give me 1 second if you don't mind, please. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, so these are the different types of observation. It's not just simply going and sitting in the class. Okay, yeah. Yes, Shivani. You're on mute.
But is structured and unstructured observation?
I'll be telling you one by one. There are slides for that. Yeah, I'll tell you. Okay, so in participant observation, the observer will find a place in the group where the observer is a member. Okay, so basically you will be part of. So if the children are doing, let's just say, role play, so you will also be one of the participants in the role play. Like one is Ram, one is Sita, one is Lakshman. So you will be Lakshman. Okay, so then you will, when you're with them, you will see how their attitude towards each other, how they are speaking, what is their leadership skills, their personality. So that is being a participant. Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's like you're sitting amongst the students and you're not being a teacher, you're being one of the students. Okay, yeah. Then non-participant is usually when you take a position outside of the activities. Okay, like you're the teacher and you're giving them a task and you're just walking around and seeing what the children are doing. That means you're not a participant, just an observer. Okay, yeah. That means supposing you're standing on the street and you're seeing people pass. Oh, this person is jaywalking. This person is waiting for the red light to stop. That is a non-participant. आप सिर्फ देख रहे हो दूर से, not in any way involved. Yes, Shivali.
These points are for the teacher perspective.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, like sometimes if you want to check children's social skills, like say values, manners, please, sorry, best is कि आप उनके group में you be a part of their play to see, right? You will know whether they're saying sorry, thank you, please to each other. But if you just say, okay, I'm going to stand today at the playground and just see how they are playing, that's a non-participant. You're standing outside. Okay, that's non-participant. Then controlled observation is also a type of observation, right? So in that, when a child, let's read this, it could be found that the child's learning in a noisy environment is distracting. Okay, so when the child studies in a noisy environment, it takes more effort. So what happens is that you plan like, okay, I want the child to do identify ABCD, but class mein wo bahut distract hota hai. So let me take him to another space, plan it out that, okay, today you and me are going to sit. I'll just show you one by one. That's a control. Like you plan what's going to happen. You don't want distraction. So that's controlled observation. And whenever there are any thesis, research that is published, they do a combination of all these before they say that, like we say that children learn best through play. You've heard it so many times. Research says that. So they will check, they will do all these observations, then they will come out. Okay, yeah. Okay, then uncontrolled. Okay, so everybody's in the class or playground and you're just seeing them in their environment, the noisy, non-noisy, however it is. Like, so you can tell the parent that, he's okay if you take him to the separate room and make him practice, but classroom is बहुत distracted. He's just seeing what other children are doing, not doing. That is uncontrolled. That means it is the normal environment, what children are usually there. Okay, what they're normally doing. Like, so for instance, if you go outside the class, what is likely to happen in the class? They'll all run around the place, right?
Nice, yes.
So that's something to say that, is that a well-behaved class then? No. They only behave when somebody is controlling them. Uncontrolled, they are uncontrolled. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So direct, again, then there is direct observation. Okay. So here the person, watches the person, like he's with a child in the environment. So he's just sitting there and directly observing. Like supposing your coordinator comes to your class, right? She's just seeing what the children are doing. She's not trying to change the environment, change the teacher, nothing, just direct observation. Okay. Indirect observation is like I share a video of my class with, let's say, a teacher, and she is not directly, but she's observing it, right? So this is recording, mostly jab recording hoti hai, you share it with a peer that I conducted a class, that is indirect observation. Okay, yeah. So when there is any observation that we have, it sometimes whoever writes the report for coming to your class, whether they were participant, non-participant, controlled, uncontrolled, it can have that it's their personal likes or dislike that can affect the observation, right? And obviously in an observation, only observed behavior, expressed behavior can be observed, right? And sometimes you see it, but when you go back home and you're writing like anecdotal notes, आपको जब बच्चों के साथ हो that time, you cannot write notes about 20 kids. Na? Later on, when you go later, you write. So sometimes you forget something that can also not be accurate and obviously requires a lot of time. So any tool has a positive and a negative to that. Okay. Then there's something called as checklist. Okay. So you say, okay, you know what? Today I'm going to check all 20 kids for this quality of sharing. Okay. Or not check. Let's do something more specific. Identifying the alphabet C. Right. And then one by one, you call them or you go and you make a quick list. Okay. So it's like yes, no, tick, 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 tick. Okay. So it's fact. It's not judgment. It's not opinion. You're just saying yes or no. Either he can do it or he cannot. Okay. Yeah. So checklist is also good for yourself or for others. Like supposing your grade kindergarten 2 children have to write an essay. So before they come to you or to the teacher, they have to check that they have a like a kind of a checklist. I have used a capital to begin my sentence. I have ended my sentence with a full stop. I have used finger space between my sentence. So they will check, then they will come to you. They'll go, Miss, Gargi checked my work. She was asking, have you checked the checklist? Have you confirmed? Yes, ma'am. I use a full stop. I used a thing. I used a finger space. Right. So it's simply got some questions and some answers with that. Okay. Yeah. So of course it can be very subjective. It's only yes and no. Sometimes children are sort of understanding it. So there's no in between. It's either aata hai or nahi aata. So, but that also we require to use checklist sometimes. And then there's something called as a rubric. So when you have an assignment, a big assignment or a piece of work, then it is used as a way to score that, not just one thing, but many things together. Okay. So there are some characteristics of rubric. It's a way of rating the student performance, not only in one parameter, couple of parameters. There were checklists. If it's one thing, right? It is basically what are the different parts of the criteria that counts. Like, of course, for me, if they are doing a role play, it's important that they can say that I'm a firefighter, I'm a teacher, I'm a this, I'm a that. But I also want to see that are they like picking up the thing? Are they being able to independently put it? So when I have more than one criteria, a rubric is used. Okay, so it can also, it's also not any yes or no. It is like rating, like very good, medium, or not able to do it. So it's like kind of quality of work, right? So it's got a comparative scale. Okay? And it's also a good communication tool. So it's a way of telling children, okay, you haven't understood this completely, but maybe if you practice more or you know that if you do these things, you will be excellent. So children also know what should I do to be excellent. Otherwise, if you say 0 or 10 out of 10, then it's very confusing for children, right? Yeah. So when we come to design a rubric, it's a little bit more complex than a checklist and observation. Obviously, you have to have a learning goal. Okay. You have to choose what are the outcomes. Like he should be able to identify number 5, write number 5, look for number 5. You have all those, right? And you have to, of course, make that rubric. You have to create that rubric. And you have to share it with the students so they know what you're going to check them on. And they have to assess and grade. And of course, basis that, you will find that most children have understood the concept in an average way in your class. No one is, if everybody is excellent, means you have explained the concept. Okay, so there are different types of rubrics. There are something called as holistic rubric and analytical. Okay, so what's a holistic rubric? It's a single score. I think we have a link here. Let me just see if it comes. Okay. Holistic rubric provides a single score based on a overall impression. Okay, let me just show you an example. Yeah. Okay. So it's like a rating scale. So you go to a restaurant and they say rate on 1 to 5, 0 to 5, how you like the food. So that is one criteria that you're using, right? So that's a holistic one. So obviously it is, it's something which, like, say, if for example, you're using, like, you got children to do a painting of the sky. Okay. So it's a bit of creative work, right? You can't say he's not done it well. Everyone does it in their way. So that's a holistic rubric. Okay. Then there is analytical rubric. Okay. So analytical will give you the specific feedback, descriptors, right? It will break the objective into components, like how when we give you a task, we give you a pretty like a rubric, which is not just one criteria. Okay, and it's each portion is scored independently using a rating scale. And final score is made up by adding up. Like you've seen that, right? This is how we give it to you, correct? So your criteria is on the left side and your grades or indicators as we call them are on the top. And then the score is that is called an analytical. Okay. So what happens? Holistic is one, like a single rating scale. It gives specific along many dimensions, right? So holistic, okay, it's quick, but analytical advantage, it's more detailed, right? And disadvantages, obviously does not give detail, and the analytical time consuming for students to fill up, for you to score, for you to create these categories. Okay. So you can see like when you're doing an activity, like a science, you can create a science rubric, right? So levels and then the specific can be even simple, right? So science tools is, I did not use science tools yet. I have no data. So as a child, they themselves fill. So normally rubrics are filled up by the students and they need a lot of practice to do that. Okay. This is another one, jigsaw student rubric. So this side, the left side, yeah, this left side is telling the basically the levels. Yes, Shivali.
Ma'am, what is the meaning of novice?
Novice, yeah. Novice is like basically beginner.
Okay.
So they've used some little difficult. Apprentice is starting to understand, practitioners good at it, and expert to me, right? So novice is just a beginner, new person, like pehli baar kar raha hai, right? So that's how it goes. So of course you can use simpler words. I just picked up one exemplar to show you. Okay. So for designing rubrics, there are many ready-made things available. Nowadays, you can use upeducators.ai, you can use Google, but there's something called Ruby Star. If you want, I can, copy paste this and share it for you. But there are many nowadays, I think with AI tools, you don't even have to worry about it. You can just design these rubrics. So first it's good to use some kind of template. Otherwise it feels very complex. Okay, so let's just see one quick sample portfolio, okay, of a student. I just wanted to show this to you. So, yeah, each piece of work comes from a reflection from student and teacher. And so there's also something called as portfolios. Does any of your school make a portfolio for the children? Yeah, yes, Shivani, you all do a portfolio, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so Nali, you all also do a portfolio?
I have worked with both portfolio and rubrics, both the things.
Okay. Okay,
And
great.
rubrics I felt was like too much detailing.
Yeah, exactly. Probably works better for little older children.
So even in the breakdown, it has further breakdowns, whether he's doing this independently with minor support,
Yes.
with major support,
Yes,
or
yes,
with
yes.
no support.
Yes, that's true. But only advantage is once you make it done, it's very quick to tick it if you're doing it for the students, right? If you're doing it. So yeah, there are advantages and disadvantages of everything. Yeah. So this was a portfolio created, for some nursery children of a particular school. And basically you can just see it, we'll understand what it is. Okay, yeah. So there was a cover page that said, the school obviously follows play-based learning. And there's a little footnote, children develop best socially, emotionally, and cognitively when they have educational experiences that promote creativity, thinking, and problem-solving skills, and engage in meaningful activities geared to their developmental level and needs. A natural curiosity and a desire to explore, play, and inquiry are the primary drivers of learning. Assessment in play-based learning involves making thinking and learning visible by documenting and reflecting on what the child says, does, and represents in play and okay. So yeah, so basically it's like the child's portfolio, but of course he's very young. So what we did is we use a lot of photographs to talk about that. Okay, so obviously the first page was I am. So this was an IB school. In the PYP, they are encouraged to be. There are something called as learning profiles, IB profiles, right? So how was he being curious, empathetic, risk taker, creative? And they're too young. Like you can see, they're so small that they're crawling up the steps. They're so little. They're like barely 2 years old, right? So you can't be, and they are actually natural risk takers. Going up the steps is being a risk taker. A creative is drawing, empathetic is helping his child, curious is pointing towards something. You can see, right? So just simple pictures, but shows that the child is being curious, is being empathetic, is being a risk taker, and is being creative. Okay. Then we had value-based education where we taught them kindness and empathy. So we put a small note with pictures. Adi displays genuine compassion and empathy towards his friends and nature. He is extremely kind and concerned about the comfort of his mates and teacher too. So you see, we got some good moments. He's cleaning somebody's nose, feeding somebody his tiffin ka food, cuddling something, giving water. So we got some really sweet moments of showing kindness and empathy. Okay. So play-based learning, again, there was a small footnote. Of course, there were worksheets. This is just a portfolio. Ethos of the school is emphasized through play-based learning. It elicits creativity in young minds and enhances their gross and fine motor skills. Children develop their social skills and learn patience and care through various forms of play. Experiential learning is the core of any play, be it indoors, outdoors, or indoors. Adi loves his playtime and demonstrates traits of patience, leadership, kindness, and a spirit of being a team player. Spelling is wrong. So yeah, pictures of him playing. You can see that. Some more pictures because play is the most important thing that children do. So all the playful moments, we've got pictures of. Then we have, one of the skills that we develop is self-management and social skills. Okay. So obviously eating on his own, listening to the teacher, moving around, being a part of some sessions, right, is all, and even things like sitting independently on the chair is something big for a 2-year-old. Eating on his own, sharing with the friends, enjoying time with his friends, that's self-management, social skills, and also understanding the sequence of class routine and even helps his friends to form a line. So that is self-management skills. Okay. And then we had a cognitive development and gross motor skills. So blocks, puzzles, crayons, glue sticks, playing with the ball, all that shows their the motor skills. Yeah, same thing. Moving around, using a puzzle. Okay. And then we had something about developing listening and speaking skills. So whatever moments that we could capture of that, how he listens carefully to the phonics picture cards. He recognizes the cow, there, come, slide, table, dog, cat, box, play, bird, swing, quite a lot of words, right? And he demonstrates his understanding by touching these objects or by pointing. And he also loves. So yeah, like for young children, this is what we do, right? This is what you put out. Math skills, he can identify circle and square, use number bases, enjoys finger counting. Also loves the abacus and can count beads in an egg carton. Can you see this activity? Egg carton activity. And then we had a section for self-expression. You can just have a moment reading it. So it's more like a picture album. It's definitely a portfolio, which is a picture portfolio. But when your child is 2 years old, this is what you, as a parent, you want to see. You want to see pictures. And if the teacher is saying something, she's backing it with an evidence of how it's actually happening. Right? So yeah. So this is what, like I said, this was not many more slides that we had. We had just these many. So yeah, this is what the whole topic of curriculum, lesson planning. It's more about, the whole structure of it, assessment, formative, summative, diagnostic. These are the things that, are the discussion point. So yeah, I think today's session, this is all we have. But if you have any questions, I mean, we spent time, 10 minutes in the beginning, but still, if you have any questions about assessment or anything that you do unique in your school with regard to assessment, we have a few minutes for a quick discussion.
Ma'am, one question with we will get the certificates, right? With that, we will get the mark sheet also.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And you will also be getting a mark sheet for Skill India as well. You'll be getting a Skill India certificate and a Skill India mark sheet as well.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can you please share that lesson curriculum with us, which you have shown to us in the lesson plan?
Yes, sure. So what I'll do is let me just upload it on the LMS itself. Right? Because if I share it now, then some of you may get it, some of you don't get it, somebody can download. I'll put it up in the LMS in the lesson planning as a resource. As a resource, I'll add it as a curriculum outline, the parent curriculum outline, right? Which I showed you. Yeah, surely. We'll do that, right? So we'll meet on Wednesday. I think since we finished this deck, what we can do is on Wednesday also, I'll put it as doubt clearing on Wednesday and Friday. So what we can do is I'll start the session at 5:30 and whoever needs can join in. We'll spend as much time required. And if there's nobody else to doubt clear, then we'll close the session because there's no point staying there for 1.5 hours if nobody else is there. So please come now with your doubts regarding anything, any assignment, anything at all, lesson planning, any doubts. So Wednesday and Friday, we will keep for doubt clearing. Okay. And what I'll do is maybe on Wednesday, we just quickly go through, like, I'll also share with you where you all are with your assignments, wherever you're stuck. We can just have that discussion of what, like, specifically for everyone.
For some assignments are left, and the date is last date was 28th.
Yeah, no, I'll push that. I mean, now that we finished this session, I'll give you all this week. So what I'll do is I'll push it. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about that. We will just push it to the end. But by the end of this week, please finish everything because if you push it any further, it would be good for you. Then I will also start compiling all the mark sheets, right? And that will be a problem. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So just if you all feel tomorrow on Wednesday, you don't have any doubts, let me know. Or you feel you need one more, you need that Wednesday to self-study and finish your work, then we can have doubt clearing on Friday. Because see, if I open the session and nobody comes, there's no point. Better we come on a day that we would have doubts or have
Yeah,
problems. So
that's better, ma'am. If everyone is fine, we can come on Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. Because then you all can also, like, you have today's day is kind of gone. You have Tuesday, you have Wednesday, you have Thursday to ask those questions then. And Monday will be doubt clearing for lesson plan and depth. That is a different doubt clearing. Friday will be doubt clearing for everything else, and Monday will be doubt clearing for the lesson plans. Okay, so you all have Wednesday to complete your work and finish up everything.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay,
Okay.
that way everybody gets a little bit
Yeah.
small breather.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, welcome. All right, everybody, have a great evening, and I'll see you soon.